So last night, it was reported that NXT recorded its highest viewership in nearly 2 years, and it ranked as the number 2 show on cable. So Mo, I want to know what your take is on this. Like how did they evolve into this position? How did they get to this spot?
Um, I'll be honest, because like it's interesting. It's a very interesting development because I feel like WWE has attempted many times to try to circulate NXT a little bit more by
Mm-hmm.
trying to bring out their biggest current stars back to the back to NXT just to like do some double exposure. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
like in the past it either barely tweaked the numbers or just people just didn't really care. And I know for at least the last 2 years, it's been quite the evolution dealing with NXT. Some people are still have a bad taste in their mouth that is not 1.0 and they don't like the transition to the way 2.0 was, but I feel like they kind of found like their sweet spot with this brand and it's kind of reflecting in like the numbers and the viewership.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't to me feel so much like a developmental brand even though that it is, and I feel like you do have to thank people like Seth that came in and brought the numbers actually up, because I mean Seth is just really that guy. He's very over. He may not be part of this like bloodline storyline that's going on, but like he's very much over in his own way. And I feel like you do have to like thank him specifically, although we did have other pop-ups. We did have other
Absolutely.
pop-ups with main roster people the last week, but I feel like you specifically really have to thank Seth because if it weren't for him, and also actually I want to give at least like credit to the last pay-per-view that NXT had. 'Cause I do feel like because AEW kind of tanked it and then people kind of ended up watching NXT, it did bring more attention to NXT. But I
Absolutely.
but I do feel like you have to handshake Rollins for this one, just because like I think he's the whole reason why people actually wanted to tune in. And it was a damn good match between him and Braun Breaker, by the way. And not that I expected any less from the both of them, but it just made me excited for whenever Braun Breaker actually does come back up to the main roster and tries to attempt to get his lick back, which kind of just goes to show you again from our previous topics how important the new belts all feel,
Yes.
because people tuned in not only just for Seth but because also again like oh that belt's actually hopping over to NXT. Like I love that that's how they're using the belts. Like the belt's not just staying on its particular brand, but they're giving it the exposure that it deserves by cross promoting and going over to NXT and showcasing talent. And I think Seth is the perfect person to use. Who else did they bring down? Baron Corbin also came down. Like they're basically giving like shine to people that held gold once upon a time. Um, which I love that. That's very much a Triple H thing to do. They kind of did that with when they brought in like the NXT UK people, and they were trying to make
Mm-hmm.
them mirror the people who are currently in NXT or were on the main roster who previously held NXT Gold. So I kind of like that connection right there. I feel like I said, it doesn't feel like it's a developmental brand, and I think it's huge for NXT that they're now not feeling like they're like the weak link. Like, of course, yes, in terms of viewership, they're still going to be number three, but now I feel like they could be possible competition to what they got going on with AEW.
Mm.
And I feel like they should have been competition because not for nothing, they have a stacked roster over there. The storylines actually aren't bad. Everything feels less less ish, I should say. I feel like they went through this weird phase with 2.0 NXT back when it was colorful, where they were doing a little bit too much to try to be entertaining ish, but now it feels a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
But you know, they found the sweet spots with all their main characters that they got going on here, to where all the storylines feel like it's something you want to get invested in. It's something that could be taken seriously. So honestly, Yeah, I love what they have going on. Shout out to Seth for giving us the viewership. It was a damn good show for
Hmm.
NXT, and I'm interested to see moving forward how they plan on using, the main roster people and the belts over there. And speaking of which, we didn't even mention, but Dana Brooke even
Yeah,
had an appearance. She had an appearance, and I think did she fake her injury on TV? I never
I'm
get
not
off the
sure.
topic.
I never.
Okay,
I'm
because
not
she
sure, to be
finished through the
honest.
match or whatnot. I just want to say I've been bagging on Dana Brooke, and I just want to actually give her credit where it's due because that match between Cora Jade was actually very good, which goes to show you how good Cora Jade is with how
Yes.
young she is. Oh my god, that match was actually pretty good, and I actually felt bad when I saw some articles come out about how people were just ragging on Dana because I was one of them for the longest. I'm not gonna hold you, but she did really well. She did really, really well. But it's like stuff like that. That goes to show you how legitimate that brand kind of already is. Like,
Mm.
damn, they were cheering Cora and booing Dana Brooke, and Dana Brooke was actually holding her own and doing a pretty goddamn good job. Like,
Hmm.
they could compete. They really could hold their own against main roster people. That it's kind of insane to me. But how did you feel about this ranking with NXT and Seth Rollins'
Woo.
appearance?
So I have to start with this, right? NXT is kind of this new version of NXT is a combination of NXT 1.0 and 2.0. In my opinion, it takes kind of the positive things of both eras and kind of brings them all together. I do believe that Seth Rollins was definitely one of the reasons as to why the viewership was so high. And we have to also give credit to Seth Rollins as far as his World Heavyweight Championship reign, because usually when we deal with babyface champions, it's always the same problem, which is that the reigns are boring. And he's
Yeah.
finding ways to make it interesting as a babyface, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to NXT, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And with his presence came Finn Balor, another former NXT champion, right? And that only reaped, benefits for NXT and their viewership. So that was a bright spot, and I feel like him bringing the belt adds interest and nuance to a championship reign that a lot of people thought it was going to be boring. So I think we got to give him credit for that. I think that match was a banger. I think that they did their thing. I feel like Seth was a big reason, but also kind of NXT is also kind of building off of its previous momentum and just reaping the benefits on being on a night of television where there isn't another wrestling show, right? Like you were saying that they could compete with AEW, and they probably can, but at the same time, it's like some people want to watch both. A lot of people want to watch both, and I feel like the ratings were higher now because it's like I don't have to decide between AEW and NXT. I can just watch both. I could just watch both. One comes on Tuesday, the other one comes on Wednesday, and so there's that aspect. And
Enough
then I
wrestling for
also,
everybody.
huh?
It's enough wrestling for everybody.
Exactly. And another thing, what I love about this kind of modern era of NXT, one of the things that they used to do in NXT 1.0 that they're doing now is that they're bringing credible main roster talent down, and it's a win-win because it gives that main roster talent a fresh start, and it also puts the NXT guys up against established talent, and it only does well for them, right? Baron Corbin is down there. Mustafa Ali is also down there. And his feud and him being involved in the North American Championship picture, it's only helping, everyone. You know what I mean? It's helping the talent that's going down there, and then it's also helping the talent that they're going up against. So I think that all around, while the viewership is because of Seth Rollins, I also believe that NXT is onto something special with how they've been progressing and how they've been just kind of moving along. So kudos to NXT. Was there anything that you wanted to say?
No, I feel like I kind of talked my behind off about NXT because I like it so much lately.
Cool. Well,